All right, everybody. Welcome to the Ultimate Offline Fantasy Football Draft Tool. This is a Microsoft Excel-based tool that will assist you in managing and dominating any fantasy football draft. It's compatible with any version of Microsoft Excel from 2007 and newer, so you must have Excel 2007, 2010, 2013, 2016, or 365 installed on the computer or laptop you'll be using when participating in your fantasy football draft. This is intended for those of you out there that participate in offline fantasy drafts, meaning you sit in a room with all of your buddies and call out draft picks rather than drafting online using tools like Yahoo, ESPN, or NFL.com. If you find that you have trouble keeping up in a draft, knowing which players were taken in which round, which players are still available, how you rank them, when they have a bye, and how easy or difficult their schedule is, then this is the tool for you. Today I'm going to walk you through the Ultimate Offline Fantasy Football Draft Tool so you can get a solid understanding of the many features that this tool has to offer, how to use them, and how this tool is going to help you facilitate the best draft you've ever had. Let's get started. As you can see here, when you originally open the Ultimate Offline Fantasy Football Draft Tool, you're going to see a pop-up message instructing you to properly enable macros. I'm going to go ahead and bypass that for now, and there will be a separate video available that anyone can watch after purchasing this tool in order to make sure it works correctly on your system. What I want to discuss first is the league settings page, which you will arrive at first when opening the tool. This page will allow you to create a draft sheet which is customized to the setup of your league. Before you do that though, you can customize this tool to take on the color scheme of your favorite team. So you can see here that I can click this drop down and switch to any team I would like, which will adjust the color scheme to match any team. So I can say my team is the Buffalo Bills, or the Dallas Cowboys, or the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'll just go ahead and pick a random team here to start. Let's go with the Patriots. So for today's example, I'm going to set up a 12-manager league. This is obviously going to vary from league to league, so you can set up a league that has anywhere from 6 to 14 managers. And you can use the drop downs to select the exact positions that you must have filled when your draft is complete. So in this case, I'm going to make some changes here, and we'll say that our league requires everyone to draft at least one quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a kicker, a defense and special team unit, and we'll go ahead and say for this league that we run a wide receiver, running back, tight end flex, 1 individual defensive player, and 8 bench spots that can be filled with players of any position. Don't worry that you're going to mess up here. You can do this as many times as you would like until you get it right. Okay, so I've got the settings that I would like here. Actually, I want this to be a 12-manager league. Okay, so I've got 12 people in my league that are managing teams. So what I want to do next is I'm going to click this button to click to continue, and the tool will tell me you're going to start a new draft here. So this will create a new draft sheet. You're going to lose any information you've already entered. Are you sure you want to proceed? I'm going to go ahead and click yes because I haven't started anything at this point. So I'll click yes. And you'll see that there's a lot of things going on after you click that button. You're just going to want to hang back and relax while it performs everything that it needs to do and sets this tool up. But after a few seconds, you're going to have a fully customized fantasy football draft tool. So I'm going to go ahead and enter the names of each manager in my league based on their draft position. So we'll just do some random names here. We're going to say John, Frank, Bob, Bill, Steve, let's say Mike, Kevin, Adam, Mark, Lance, Kyle, and Ray. Okay, so that's the exact draft order based on position. So draft position 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to draft position 12. All of my names are filled in here. Okay. Once you've got that, you're going to go ahead and click this button to start. And what it's going to do, this tool is going to bring you to a customized draft sheet that has, for every single manager in your league, so for John, for Frank, for Bob, it will have a draft sheet that shows all the positions that we've specified. So 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a kicker, a defense, a wide receiver, running back, tight end, flex, an individual defensive player, and then 8 bench spots. Okay? So you're going to see a couple different features of this tool, and let's walk through those right now. When my draft starts and people start drafting players, I have multiple ways that I can enter a pick. So let's just say that the first player drafted in this draft is going to be Le'Veon Bell. So this might be a situation where I might want to start typing in Le'Veon Bell's name, but maybe I say I don't know how to spell Le'Veon Bell's name. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to double click in my box here, and it's going to bring up a listing of all running backs available in this league, and they're in order based off of my fantasy football rankings. And I'll show you what those rankings look like and how to customize them yourself in just a little bit. But as of right now, I'm going to say that the player I want to select, or that was selected by John, is Le'Veon Bell. And when I click away from that, all this information is filled in. It tells me that Le'Veon Bell is a running back, his bye week is in week 8, and that he was the first person selected by John. Okay, so let's go ahead and move forward, and we'll say pick number 2 is going to be Todd Gurley. Okay, same thing. Todd Gurley is a running back, bye week is 8. He's pick number 1 for Frank. Quarterback, let's just double click here and say Bob is going to select Cam Newton with his first pick. And I'm just going to move forward here and just fill in a couple different picks for each of these managers so we can see kind of what that looks like in the rest of the tool. Okay, so I've gone ahead and filled in just 2 rounds of draft picks here, just totally done at random here, but I've done it in order to make a couple points about some features of this tool. So what I want you guys to see here is just the players that have been drafted by John, Frank, Bob, Bill, and so forth. They've taken Andrew Luck, Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley, A.J. Green, Cam Newton, Jordy Nelson, Aaron Rodgers, Thomas Rawls, Adrian Peterson, DeAndre Hopkins, David Johnson, Julio Jones, Tom Brady, Antonio Brown, Drew Brees, Odell Beckham, Ezekiel Elliott, Gronkowski, Russell Wilson, Eddie Lacy, Ben Roethlisberger, LaShawn McCoy, Jamal Charles, and Dez Bryant. And the reason I wanted to show you that is because you have this menu available to you over on the right where you can show all players, show quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, kickers, defenses, individual defensive players, and so on. So for now, I'm going to start off here and I'm going to click this show all players button. And what I want you to see is that I'm going to see a listing of the top 200 players right now based on pro rankings. And so you can see that I've got this pretty long list here of all these different players. And on this list, it's indicating which players have already been drafted. So the ones that I already went through and showed you, Bell, Gurley, Brown, Beckham, Jones, so on and so forth, are all now highlighted in gray, which indicates that they've been drafted by somebody already and are no longer available for me to draft. I can also see some other information about all these players. For each player, I can see what team they're on, what position they play, what bye they have. So if they've got a week 11 bye or week 9, something like that. I can look at their pro rankings if I want to see the way that the fantasy football experts have ranked these guys. And I can also see their strength of schedule. So this is important. It's important to be able to see strength of schedule because when it comes down to it later in the draft and I'm deciding between one player or another, I might say, you know, I'm considering between, let's just go down the list here and I can say maybe I'm looking at maybe Doug Baldwin or Eric Decker. And I might look at their strength of schedule here and say I can see that Doug Baldwin has the #1 easiest strength of schedule. So he has the best matchup against defenses, against wide receivers, versus Eric Decker that has the 26th worst strength of schedule. So in that case, I might want to use this information over here to be able to select a player based on their strength of schedule. So not only can I see all players available in the draft, but I can use this menu over here to show specific positions. So I can say, you know, I'm in the market right now for this draft pick for a quarterback. So show me all quarterbacks. So I can see who's been taken, who's still available, and how they rank on my ranking list. I can show running backs. I can show wide receivers, tight ends, kickers, defenses, and individual defensive players. We'll come to these other buttons in just a minute here, but I at least want you to see that you can see a comprehensive list of all players available at any position at any time so that when you return back to this draft here, you can say, okay, it's my pick. We'll just say that my name is John, and for this pick, I want a wide receiver. So I'm going to go show wide receivers. I can see which ones are still available. So maybe I say, okay, I want to go with Sammy Watkins here. So return to draft, and we'll just drop this list down and select Sammy Watkins, and there you go. Okay. So some other pretty cool features of this tool that you can use at any point in time is I can see let's go to the all players list. If I choose to do so, if I say here's the rankings that the pros gave these players, 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth, and I probably would have done this prior to the draft, but I can do it at any point, as I can say, actually, I rank these players a little bit differently. So maybe I don't think Le'Veon Bell is the number one running back or the number one player in general. So let's just do something random here. I'm going to say that the number one player on the list here, in my mind, maybe I have a 2 quarterback league or something like that. We'll say the number one player is going to be Cam Newton. We'll say number 2 is Aaron Rodgers. We'll put Le'Veon Bell at 3, Gurley at 4, Antonio Brown at 5, and I'm just going to do some random numbering down here. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So at any time, if I choose to do this, I can put my own rankings in here, and I can use this ability over here to sort by my rank. So I can say sort by my rank, and it's going to reorder this list based off of the rankings that I've given all these players, 1, 2, 3 through 10, and then everything else is just going to be based on what it was originally based on. Okay, so you can see moving forward, it's just still an order by pro rank. If I want to move back at any point, I can click to sort by pro rank. So I can say whatever numbers I've added in here to give my own rankings, let's go back and take a look and see how the pros rank these players. So some pretty cool functionality to be able to order any one of these lists based on your players in your rankings, or to just leave them the same based on the pro rankings. And you can do this for any position, for all players, your quarterbacks, your running backs. You can give your ranking and sort by that, or you can sort by the pro rankings at any time. You can show NFL team strength of schedule. So you can say, instead of looking at all of these different players one by one and viewing their strength of schedule, you can use this button right here to show NFL strength of schedule, and it will tell you for each of these teams, here's how they rank against certain positions. So you can say that Detroit has the number 1 strength of schedule for quarterbacks. So again, meaning that Detroit has a schedule that is preferable for quarterbacks. So that might tell you that you might want to take Matthew Stafford because he has very favorable matchups across the season. But looking down the way here, you can see that New England has the 32nd best schedule against quarterbacks, meaning they have the most difficult schedule against defenses for quarterbacks. So Tom Brady, you may not want to take him. I'm not going to say that you wouldn't, but you may not want to take him at that point based off of this strength of schedule. And so we show that listing for every position, how running backs rank, how wide receivers, tight ends, kickers, and defense rank. For every one of these teams here, you can kind of see what their strength of schedule is. You can also, at any point, we'll return to our draft here, you can also show a list of fantasy team breakdowns. And so let's see what that looks like. I'm going to click on fantasy team breakdowns. And what I can see here is a listing of all of my team managers, John, Frank, Bob, Bill, Steve, and so on and so forth. And it tells me all of the different positions that this person has already drafted. So you can see that John has drafted a quarterback, a running back, and a wide receiver, and he's drafted a total of 3 players at this point. So we go back to the draft here, and here it is. John drafted a quarterback, a running back, and a wide receiver. Frank has a running back and a wide receiver. And so the point here, and this may not be relevant for those of you that might be sitting in the middle of your draft at the 5 or 6 spot, but if you happen to be at the beginning of your draft, so in spot 1 or 2, you might want to come back to this fantasy team breakdown list and say, okay, we'll just say that my name is Frank here, and I'm going to say, as of right now, I need to make a draft pick, and then John gets 2 picks after me. So I can use this information here to say I can already see that John already has a certain number of quarterbacks, a certain number of running backs, wide receivers, so on and so forth. And so I might say, at this point in time, John has already drafted 5 running backs, and so maybe I'm teetering between a running back and a quarterback. It would probably be a better idea for me at this point to take my quarterback hope that John doesn't take a running back with either of his next 2 picks because he's already pretty stacked there, and then I can get that running back coming back. So this is a pretty valuable part of this tool to be able to understand all the different team breakdowns of everyone around you to get a better idea of when you can take players and what's a better time to wait, okay? So another feature of this tool that you may have noticed but didn't really understand yet is this pick number over on the right-hand side. So this is a very valuable feature to be able to see the pick order that John has chosen to go in terms of he went running back, quarterback, and then wide receiver, because I might want to use this next year to be able to understand John's draft strategy. Maybe every year John goes running back, quarterback, wide receiver. And so if I'm drafting ahead of him or behind him, I have an idea of a player that I might want to pick to upset John's draft strategy, or to be able to take someone that he would have wanted at that specific position. So maybe not something that's super relevant for this year, although it will help you keep track and understand, where someone was taken. You can always see that this was their first pick, second, and third, but definitely a feature that you can use moving forward, because you're going to like this tool so much. It's going to help your draft so much that you might as well be keeping track of these things, because you're going to be using it again and again, over and over, to manage your drafts moving forward. So that is it. We appreciate you checking out the Ultimate Offline Fantasy Football Draft Tool today, and we look forward to helping you dominate your draft for many years to come. Good luck in your fantasy drafts.